right. Well, the Salvation Army is accused of going woke over its resource guide titled, "Let's Talk About Racism." The document released earlier this year says, quote, "The desire is that Salvationists achieve the following: lament, repent, and apologize for biases or racist ideologies held and actions committed."
But the group is denying reports that it's asking donors to apologize for their racism, saying in a statement, in part, quote, "The Salvation Army is not asking donors to apologize for their skin color, and we do not endorse any philosophy or ideology. Such claims are simply false and injure our ability to fulfill our mission, which is to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ and to meet human needs in his name without discrimination." Here to react is Fox News contributor Joe Concha. Joe, good morning. Happy Thanksgiving. Great to see you. You know, the Salvation Army, you think of the red kettle outside, you think of Christmas, you think of giving. You don't think of woke or a statement like this on their website. They're trying to deny it. What do you think?
Well, it's a he said, she said situation at this point, but the fact that they even had to address those reports out there, and that tells you that, you know, there is a there. And if you go on social media now, it's ugly. You know, a lot of people saying, I've always donated to the Salvation Army, but I'm not going to do that anymore after they got woke. And look, by telling people if this is true, based on their race, they need to apologize, not because of their specific actions, but because of the color of their skin. That literally flies in the face of that mission statement that you just read. And I just feel sorry for all those folks out there from the Salvation Army, the boots on the ground, so to speak, standing out there in the freezing cold, ringing that bell all day, all night, who had nothing to do with this possible edict from the top. But again, we don't quite know whether it is true or whether it is not. But there's so much wokeness going on these days with corporations and even charities. It's why people are inclined that this may be a thing. By the way, if you look at the Salvation Army's executive page, Rachel, that team is comprised overwhelmingly of white people. So I don't know, maybe you look at your own hiring practices first before possibly piously telling people, particularly white donors, what they should apologize for.
Yeah, well, Marxism was also created by a white German guy, so I don't know about it. You know, this whole thing is so crazy. I have a friend, her name is Debbie. Every year they get together, their family, and their Christmas tradition is they go and ring the Salvation Army bell. I know Debbie, if she knows about this story, she might not go out and ring that bell in the cold Wisconsin, you know, winter anymore. And so it's not just the donors, it's the volunteers. And again, why are these people at the very top making decisions that they know are just going to divide the country at a time of Christmas where we're supposed to all come together?
Yeah, I think, Rachel, the company needs to do a little bit more here on the communications front and needs to condemn critical race theory, because you think of the greatest civil rights leader of any time, Martin Luther King Jr., and he said it best: don't judge others by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And CRT teaches the exact opposite of that. So the Salvation Army should come out and say, we do not embrace this. We don't embrace, for instance, you have kids, I have kids, Pete has kids. Our kids, mine as young as kindergarten, possibly being taught to judge others through the prism of race instead of the content of their character. So hopefully they go out and do that, but I have a feeling they're just going to hope that the news cycle sweeps this away and that the donations keep coming in. But I think it's going to have an impact. And unfortunately, the people that get impacted ultimately because of this will be those who need that money most, Rachel.
It's true. I mean, I feel like at some level they must have thought they could check some sort of a woke box
or
by putting this. Or they hired someone, maybe. Or they hired someone and they put it on their website. I think it'll just sit there. And ultimately, in this day and age, these things are seen and they mean something to people. Joe, I mean, this just like the charity means something. If you stand for that, I mean, by the way, their name, the Salvation Army. We are all in need of salvation because we're all sinners and we're all flawed. To include racism or sexism or whatever ism you want to pick, it feels like a bad move for them, Joe. Last word real quick.
Last word is, happy Thanksgiving to both of you. A great year for both of you. Obviously, Pete, with your book, and Rachel, I was on with your husband yesterday. Your book is now at #2 on the New York Times bestseller list. I mean, that is just incredible, because I believe this is your first joint book together, and that just shows you how many people love watching you both, and the power of this network. As far as you want to say something in a book, people will buy it. So I think I have to write a book now. I think that's my New Year's resolution.
Thank you, Joe.
We'll check with you next year on it. Thank you, Joe.
All right, guys.
All right.